Hi, my name is Chris Stiefkin, and today I'm going to walk you through how to replace a broken antenna on a Sennheiser body pack receiver. Before we get started, I just want to walk through what kind of tools you're going to be needing for this project. All of these are pretty cheap, a heck of a lot cheaper than buying one of these again. So first up, you're going to need a precision toolkit, and really actually all you need is a star kit, something that has very small stars. The one that we're looking for is a number 6, so something around one of these sizes here. This one we bought at Walmart. I don't know how much was that.
15 bucks.
15 bucks, 20 bucks, something like that. And then beyond that, you're going to need a soldering iron and a holder because you don't want that on your desk. Some flux so you can clean the tip, the solder, a solder sucker, and then something that you can actually use as a third hand so you can hold the board that we're going to be pulling out of this to solder with, because you don't want somebody else holding it, and there's no way that you can do it yourself. All of these together, probably what, 60, 70 bucks? But with us, it was a good investment, even for the first one, because these are what, 500 bucks, 600 bucks? And we had 2 of these to do. So the more you do, the cheaper all of this becomes. Okay, the first thing you want to do is a little bit of prep here. You're going to want to take this clip off the back. It's not totally necessary, but it will make your life a little easier. And this just kind of pulls out on either side, like that. If there's batteries in it, take them out. Shouldn't be storing these things with batteries anyways. There you go. I'll smack myself around later. Okay, first up, you're going to want to take this little battery door off, and it's a hinge, like a piano hinge. And you just push on one side here, like here. And then you just pull it all the way up. Okay. Now on the back there are 4 screws that have star heads on them. I already have my little screwdriver with a star head on it. It's a number 6 star. Now this is not an Allen wrench. That's not an Allen head. If you put an Allen in there, even if it kind of fits and you start wheeling around, chances are you'll strip them out and then that's it. So remember, star number 6. And you want to take these out. These screws, I think are all the same thread, but they vary in length. So you're going to want to put them on the table or make a little grid or something to kind of remind yourself of where they're coming from so they go back in the same hole that they came out of. Okay, and when you lift this back off, there are 2 little pieces of plastic right here. There's one here, and there's one on the other side. Now those will fall out, so be careful. You might end up scrounging around on the floor for them. But you're going to want to put those aside. Remember which side those go on. You should be able to figure it out, but if you can't for whatever reason, it's just easier to lay it on your little grid ahead of time. So there's your back. Your back is now off. So the board that we actually want to get to is this top board here. And to get that off is 3 more screws. They're the same size star head. But once again, they vary in length. And their tips are a little different because some of them just go into other plastic pieces. And some of them go into the actual metal piece of the front here. So once again, put them in a place where you can remember which hole they go back into. Okay, there we go. Okay. Now don't go yanking this board off yet, because there's one more step we need to do. And this little ribbon cable right here is held on by this clamp. There's this black piece of plastic here. When it's pushed in, clamps down on this ribbon cable. So you can use your fingernail or something that you can get the side of these. There's a little lip on each side, and you just start working it down on either side until it's all the way off, and it releases that little ribbon cable. At that point, you'll be able to just pull it out and just leave it there. And you can put this aside. So here we go. This is I don't know the actual name of this board, but this is the board that we'll be working with. You can see here is the antenna, our broken one. It's held onto this board by one piece, one little connection, which is, as you can see on the back here, is soldered on. And that's it. That's all we're going to be replacing. So from here, we're going to move over to soldering. Okay, so soldering. This is the soldering section. There's a little bit of prep here. If you've never soldered before, this could be a little scary for you, but it's not that big of a deal. This is a basic soldering iron with a nice small tip. That's what you're going to want. Some of these soldering irons come with very flat, almost like a flathead screwdriver, but a very dull tip on it. You don't want that. You want something that has a very sharp point, because we're going to do some precision soldering on this one. That sounds scary, but it's really not. You're taking one soldering point off, putting another soldering point on there, and it's a pretty easy one. So if you've never done it before, don't worry. It's already broken. You're not going to break it any worse, or if you do, it doesn't matter. If you're going to replace it anyways, who cares? If you have something like this, I would really recommend getting a setup that's kind of like this. We got this at Radio Shack. I don't remember how much. It wasn't much. But this came with a little holder, came with a little sponge, which you want damp. You don't need to, this doesn't need to be soaking wet, just damp. And then also you're going to want some flux. And for preparation, and I've already done this, I'll kind of walk through this again, but for flux is a cleaning agent. So what you want to do is you want to clean the tip, and then you want to take some of your solder. This soldering iron actually came with some solder. So once your soldering iron is hot, obviously don't touch it, but you're going to want some solder here. You can just cut that off. Okay. So you would clean it. I'm not going to do it because I've already done it, but you would clean, just kind of dip it in real gingerly. It's going to smoke a lot. Don't breathe in the smoke. Same thing with the the solder smoke. Try not to breathe it in. Excuse me, because it is 60-20, I think, tin and lead. But you're going to clean the tip and then come over here and put a little solder on the tip. If it bunches up, you can always just kind of get it off. But you want to put a nice little coat of solder all the way around the tip. And that's called tinning the tip. And what this does is it puts a little coat on there, and it allows the heat to transfer much quicker. So as soon as it touches the solder that's on here, it'll almost instantly melt. If not, you're going to have to hold it on there for a little bit. And the longer you hold heat, especially that kind of heat on these boards, the greater the risk is of burning the board or destroying the contact. So just make sure you have a little bit on there before you start. Now this is where this comes in very handy. This is, I don't know, I always call it a third arm, but I don't know what the actual name is for it. It has a couple banana clips on here. You're going to want to put this in here. Now these are metal, so be very careful because you're clamping onto a board that has little circuits running all over the place. So you don't want to push it on there, and you definitely don't want to pull it out. You always want to open it and then close it on there easily. And these are adjustable, so you can tighten them down or loosen them or put them in any position you really want to. Okay, so first off is taking this piece off, and it's as simple as, make sure you guys can see this, it's as simple as just heating up this point right here, until that solder melts, and this will just come out. We have to move it around a little bit. Okay. There it goes. You can see it melting. Looks like I still had some flux on there. It's getting all over the place. There we go. So once it melts, it'll just pull right out. And as you can see, the way this is shaped, here's the new one. It's actually got a little getting. You need this, okay?
Oh yeah, move it a little farther away from you.
Like out here?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, as you can see there, the way this is shaped, there's like a pencil point almost. So this will go through that hole up to this point right here, where it kind of comes out. And that'll hold it in place, which is really good. And that gives you enough to go through the board and actually have some that sticks above the board where the solder can grab onto. So, and as you can see, this is pretty bad. We had shielding is almost completely, well, it is completely gone on the bottom here. This, how much did this cost?
$6.
Okay, this was a $6 replacement part. We'll put in the comments where we got it, because I don't remember. But before we get to that, we want to clean up this thing here. We still have some solder in there, and you really, right now, actually this solder is closing the hole, so we need to suck all that away. Basically with a solder sucker, it's a little pump, basically. So you clip it down like that, and then when you have it all melted, you press the little button, and it has a little vacuum and sucks it all up in there. It's pretty simple. So let's heat this stuff back up again. My hands are shaking. Just kind of get it on there until it, right there. And that's almost all of it. Might have to do it a couple times to get it all out. Almost. Okay. All right, now that we have a clean hole for this piece to fit into, which will go from the bottom through the top. You might have to wiggle it around a little bit, but be careful not to bend it. It does fit in, at least I've found that they fit in a little bit tight. And if you have a little bit of residue of solder in there, you might have to actually melt it before getting it through there. There we go. So once it's in there, you're going to need this hand, so you can't hold that. So you're going to have to move all this stuff around to hold not only the board, but also the antenna. So we'll do that here. There we go. If you didn't have this, I don't know how you'd do it, to be honest. So for soldering, you're not warming up the board so that the solder melts on the board. You're actually melting the solder and letting it kind of fall onto the board. You can see that here is the circuit, and all it has to do is touch both this pin that's coming through and that circuit. That's really all that needs to happen. Not only that, but the solder itself will keep the antenna in place. So you're going to want to hold, is this a good angle for you?
Yeah.
You're going to want to hold this over the top, and if it's tinned properly, you should almost instantaneously start melting. Try not to breathe it in, it's not always possible. You won't die if you get a little bit on you. Okay. And that's it. And once, you might have to warm it up again just to make sure everything is working well. And when you're done, it should look like a little mountain with a peak sticking out of it. So if you're looking at this piece here, the very top of that, the tip of this little piece here, the part that's sticking through, the solder should go all the way around that, touching both the circuit on the board and this, but you should see a little piece of this, a little point sticking out the top. It is not a case of bigger the glob, better the job, okay? It's really, you just want just enough to set it in place and touch all the necessary parts. And that's it. Let it cool. It will almost cool instantaneously, but give it, 30 seconds if you want to be safe. And then easily take this out, and that is it. You have your antenna, now your new antenna, soldered into your board. And now all it is just reassembly. So I'm going to walk you through that real quick. I'm going to cut there. Okay, so reassembly. First we're going to want this main piece here. Now I want you to be very careful. I didn't say this before, but if this board comes out, so will all of your buttons. You got 2 buttons or 1 button here that's like a toggle, and you have 2 other buttons, and they'll just fall out. So be very careful about that. It's not hard to put back in. It's just one step you don't really need to take if you don't have to. We're just going to put this back in there. The antenna fits. It has its own little hole basically, and then put that in there. And we're going to want to, well, let's do that ribbon cable first. With the ribbon cable, can you see that all right?
Rotate it a little bit.
Like this?
Yeah.
With the ribbon cable, you're going to want to just feed it in. Oop. Might take a couple of tries here. And once it goes in to the point where it doesn't go in anymore, there we go. Then you just move this black piece back into position. And like I said, that's just it just clamps down on it. So we have that. The antenna actually has its own little place, a little hole that it fits into. So we just have to move that around. Be gentle with it. And once you do that, everything else should line up using the same position again. I'll put this all back together. This is the easy part. Now me personally, I don't tighten them completely down until I get them all in there, just in case one hole doesn't line up perfectly. You still have a little bit of wiggle room with the board. Okay, now we can actually tighten, and I would not wrench down on these things. It's like finger tight, I guess. Just so they're snug. Because this housing and most of the parts in here that they're screwing into are either plastic or I think this is aluminum. Either way, it will strip pretty easily. So once you get that put on there, next is these little plastic pieces. I honestly have no idea what they do or what they're for, besides being a pain in the butt when putting things back together again. Hold them with your fingers and then drop this piece on there. It might fit kind of snug. Just try not to force anything. If it doesn't work the first time, just reposition, and there we go. Alright, make sure it's all closed around the edge. If it sticks up a little bit, the screws will take care of that. Now remembering which screw went where from your little grid or however it is you decided to keep them straight. Once again, I don't tighten them down until they're all in. That way I don't have to go back and loosen any again. Get in there. There we go. And once again, you want them to be tight, but not overly tight, so just snug. There we go. Perfect. All right, battery cover. This piece just kind of fits in. The little two hinges come together, and then you have the actual pin. And it doesn't really matter which way you put this in there. You can go from either side. So might have to twist it in a little bit. There you go, and it will snap into place just like that. And then if you had batteries in it, you can put your batteries back in. So, and that is it. Turn it on, we're good to go. You have a brand new antenna. And like I said, we will put in the comments where we got this from. So if you have any questions, feel free to message one of us, put something in the comments, or, oh, I forgot, here's the other piece. Not that this really matters all that much, but this just piece goes in here. Feel free to message us and ask us questions if you have any, and we'll be sure to walk you through. If you're in the Orlando area, give us a call, and we'll have you come down. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope this helped you out, saved you a little bit of money. Thanks.